Correct. And this is one that you and I have actually probably together got the most involved and invested in, is underneath the, I guess, we'll call it real estate industry, real estate category. We've done a lot with Airbnb businesses, not just ourselves, but we've also helped fund a lot of Airbnb businesses. And one of the ones that we've seen a lot of side hustlers work on, and early stage side hustlers that didn't have a lot of capital to put out, what they've done is the lease and list, where they'll go out and they'll rent a property. You have to get permission from the homeowner.
Oh yeah, you got to be transparent about it.
Exactly. But there's courses that teach you how to do this, of course, but you'll go out, you'll find a property, you'll sign a 1-year lease on it, and then you'll list it on Airbnb. And there are some of those that are extremely profitable. Homeowners want to make sure they've got a safe, guaranteed rent every single month, but they don't care whatsoever if you go ahead and list it on Airbnb.
Exactly. And then they know that, hey, the property is being cleaned, it's being maintained properly. And especially if you kind of have your setup, you have a website, you have a brand, and you come at it from, hey, I'm actually an Airbnb professional, a verbal professional. We do short-term rentals, and we're going to spend all the money to make sure the property is in great shape so that it can rent out and attract really great guests. And so one of the keys to doing that, and this is also, it's actually another form of arbitrage, if you will. An arbitrage, meaning you just pay a little bit and then you can get more than what you paid for something. It's the same idea. Well, hey, if I can lease out this condo in downtown, even if it's a small condo, I'm leasing it out for $1,500 a month. But I'm able to do short-term rentals and put it on Airbnb and bring in $3,000 a month, and you're making that difference of $1,500, $3,000 a month minus the $1,500 payment. You're arbitraging that $1,500 profit, and that is the opportunity here. And so it used to be, well, you had to buy the property. Oh, and then you have to come up with the down payment. You have to qualify them for the mortgage, jump through all these hoops, which can be difficult. And so this lease and list opportunity can be a great way to go.
Yeah, and the reason why people have called us for this, because lease and that strategy, we look at that and people are probably thinking, well, why would you need any capital for that?
Good question.
There's a couple things. Number one is they're not just going at this on their own. They want a course. They want legal documentation. They want someone guiding them through to make sure they're protected if the homeowner agrees to allow them to do this. So getting a lot of the contracts and the training. And then the other part is furnishing the home, right? So a lot of rental properties, they're not going to come fully furnished, like ours in Orem right now. Someone's got to move in and furnish all of it. But if you're going to lease it and then put it on Airbnb, you need to have the ability to furnish that home, because someone's not going to get an Airbnb for a weekend and bring their own bed with them.
No question about it. And then you want to set yourself apart. There's lots of Airbnb properties out there, and they all have, some nice furniture, IKEA furniture, whatever that they've got in there, beds, etc. But if you want to truly stand out and have a premium property, then you kind of have a theme. You have some cool games, something in it that's going to set it apart from the other competition out there. And if you have that, the odds of you attracting a better guest who is willing to pay a little bit more money go up significantly. And then even in down periods, you're going to be more likely to be busy and have guests booking your property versus those that don't. So there are these little secrets that we've kind of learned, being involved in these businesses ourselves and also funding them also.
Yeah, and please, if you're going to do the Airbnb model, do not skimp on pillows and do not skimp on toilet paper. Yeah. That is the quickest way to get a bad review from me. Yes. If you go to an Airbnb and it's like the shittiest $10 Walmart pillow, that's a good way to ruin someone's vacation.
Yeah, everything's going fine. You're super tired at the end of the night. You just want to have a good night of sleep, and you lie down, and the pillow is like it's one of those 2 inches super thin pillows, and it's breaking your neck, and you wake up and your back and neck hurt. Not smart, guys.
Yeah,
not smart.
Do it right. The other Airbnb strategy is you can go out to different groups, different investors that have the money, and you can say, hey, I've been going through this training, going through this course. I know how this works. I have experience. I can use your money, get a down payment, or whatever you want to do. Get that investor money to go purchase properties to then put on Airbnb and you self-manage them. There's, that's another way we're seeing people do Airbnb, but I'm seeing a lot more of the lease and list type strategy lately.
And it's a great place to start, the lease and list. But if you want to create true wealth within this Airbnb Vrbo format, it really happens when you can buy the property. Because as you buy the property, then you're going to get not only the income that comes from obviously the short-term rentals, putting it on Airbnb and Vrbo, but now you get the appreciation as the property goes up. Now you own a more valuable property. And if you only put, 20, 25% down payment down and the property goes up 5% a year, which on average most properties do, well, all of a sudden in 5 years, if you put, 25% down and the property goes up 5% a year in value, now you just got another 25%. So your down payment has now doubled in terms of value. And guess what you did to the mortgage? You've been paying the mortgage down because you're collecting the short-term rent and you're making cash there. And then the best part about all of it is not only are you making all this money, you're paying down the mortgage, you're increasing your equity, the property's going up in value, but then you get these massive tax benefits.
Yep.
You get to depreciate the property, you get to depreciate all of the furnishings and everything that you put into the property. And so it can really be, there's a reason why guys like Donald Trump don't pay very much in taxes, because the model of the tax system is if you invest into properties to make these properties better and more valuable, then we'll let you depreciate the property, depreciate all the improvements and furnishings that you added to the property. And that's why real estate investors pay very little in taxes. And that's why I'll never probably be able to see on a large scale why it would make sense for me to put a lot of my money into stocks and bonds when I can put it into real estate and see so many different tangible benefits. And that's the interesting thing about real estate, whether it's Airbnb or a different model, like it's very similar in terms of the benefits.
Absolutely. And to get in, like we said, with real estate, there's a lot of different niches within real estate. The other one that we've been a part of is land flipping, which was a very, very, I'm not going to lie, when you brought that one to me, I was like, Leo,
like, what
the hell? Like, I just had to sit down and say, you know what, you've been right so far. I trust you. What can I do to help? And you were right. I'll let you explain the land flipping, though.
So it was super interesting. We had a gentleman on our podcast, I don't know, a year and a half ago, and he's talking about how, he and his wife were working these corporate jobs, and they hated their corporate jobs, and they're like, oh, there's got to be a better opportunity out there. And so they were looking at real estate, and I think they invest in they had to have a rental property, and then they had termites, and they had all the typical nightmares that happen when people get into real estate. And they weren't making very much on the rental property. And they're like, oh, this sucks. And then he saw this lot for sale, and he was able to buy it for super cheap. And then he knocked on the neighbor who lived next door and asked him if they wanted to buy it, and he made a big profit on it. And he's like, whoa, there's something here. And then all of a sudden, one thing led to another. And so the idea behind land flipping is you find somebody who wants to get rid of their land. And the problem with you're a land owner, and sometimes people inherit land, or a lot of the times they do. In fact, they inherit land and they don't even know what to do with it. It's not like they have a bunch of money to go build some big home on it. And maybe it's kind of out in a more recreational area, and they're not ever going to live there, and they don't have the wherewithal to build some cabin or some Airbnb property. And so they're like, and then they have to pay property taxes on the land. So it's like, I inherited this land from Grandpa Bob, and I'm paying all this property taxes every year, and I hate it. I just want to get rid of it, and I don't know what it takes to sell it. I don't know what needs to happen. Do I need to make improvements on it? Do I need to get approvals from the city? So all these things that people don't know, and they're like, I just want to get rid of it. And so then what you'll do is you'll go in and you'll buy it at and it's kind of the same idea. You can actually not have to close on it. You can actually get under contract and tell them, hey, I've got to do due diligence. You tell the owner of the property, I've got to do some work on it. I've got to do some marketing on it. It's going to take 3 to 6 months, and then I'll close on it and I'll sell it. And so it's the same arbitrage idea, no money out of pocket. I'll get under contract to buy the land for $10,000, and then I'm going to go over here and market it and put it on different websites, and maybe even have a realtor listed, as long as I'm transparent with the seller that I'm going to be doing marketing, and they have to sign off on that in your contract. And again, that's why you use a system. So I bought the system here, went through the training, and then we actually brought in a third partner to kind of do a lot of the legwork, because we're busy building our other businesses. And then you basically send out mailers. So basically, you get under contract for $10,000 with the seller, and you go sell it for $15,000 or $20,000. You make $5,000 to $10,000. It's a great deal. and you make this profit. You didn't even have to close on it. Now, if you find a really good piece of property, you're probably going to need to have some cash, an investor, or access to some funding, and close on it. And so in our case, we were sending out these mailers through this system, and we sent out these mail pieces, and this lady reached out to us, and perfect story, right? She had inherited the money when one of her relatives had died and left it to her. I think it was her parents, and she didn't know what to do with it. She had no idea what was going on with it. There was different work, things that had to happen to make it sellable. And so we're like, hey, cool, we'll buy it from you. And so it started out, we were going to buy it like 13 or 14. By the time we actually closed, we closed at $19,500 on this piece of land, and it ended up being like 9 or 10 acres in an area where there's a lot of recreational growth. People were going to visit and camp and build cabins out there. And it was on a pretty good, busy road, which was good because it made it more valuable in terms of the land. And there were all these extra fees that had to be paid, and she didn't have the money to pay them, right? So that's why we started out at 14 grand, but we closed at about 19.5. And we actually had to pay that extra money and close on it. And we put that money up, closed on it at $19,500. We were pretty confident that we might be able to split the property into two and maybe sell each of them for like $25,000 or $30,000 each. And so you think about that, you buy a property for $20,000, and if you could sell it for 40 or 50, that's pretty good. Now we still had some more expenses. We had the mailer marketing, and maybe a sales guy we were paying, so maybe it cost us another $5,000 or $10,000. But in this case, this is going to be one of those, real estate deals that doesn't sound real. You're like, bullshit, that didn't really happen. But it actually did. We lived it, and it was just weird, and maybe we were just super fortunate. For sure we were. But here's what happened. So we bought this property because I'm going through our taxes right now to get our taxes done. We bought it last December in 2021 for like $19,500, and then we ended up selling this property for I think it was $125,000. So we had this realtor who knew the area well. We listed with her. She listed at 120. I think she first listed it actually at like 100, and then the guy needed 90 days, and he didn't close on it. So we were all bummed. And then literally like a month later, it was under contract for $125. So she like raised the price. I don't know how that works. She raised the price. And remember we were like in Orlando, and it was like, oh, it's under contract. They're going to close. And sure enough, it closed at $125. We paid her a big realtor commission, paid our title fees. And when it was all said and done, I think we netted $116,000 from the sale. And we had about $35,000 into the deal, counting all of our marketing and everything we paid for it. So we ended up netting like 80 grand on this deal. So it doesn't sound real, but that's exactly what happened, and the system works. And so I think, again, if you go with a system, and we went through a proven system, bought the system, invested in it, put some time and some money into it, and it certainly produced.
Persistence. That, like I said, it comes back to that. Ladies and gentlemen, there are a lot of ways to make money. You just have to be persistent. Yes. And like Leo said, we followed a proven process. We didn't recreate contracts. We didn't recreate a CRM. We didn't recreate mailers. We paid for a course that got us access to all of that, and then we're able to go and make a large amount of money on one single deal. So again, I don't know if we got lucky or not. It sounds like from other people in that course that happens all the time.
It does happen.
But that's land flipping.